Twisted toys. As the teenagers crept towards the abandoned mansion, their breaths created small puffs in the chilly night air. The full moon illuminated the imposing Victorian structure, casting eerie shadows on its decaying walls. They pushed aside overgrown vines and climbed through a broken window to gain access. Inside, they were greeted with musty air and creaking floorboards. The moonlight barely filtered through the dirty windows, but it was enough to make out the creepy details of the interior. Tattered curtains, broken furniture, and cobwebs covering every corner. Undeterred by the spooky atmosphere, the teenagers explored each room with curiosity. But as they made their way up to the attic, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. When they opened the door to the attic, they were met with a chilling sight, an army of twisted and demonic toys staring back at them with glowing eyes and sinister smiles. A shiver ran down their spines as they realized that this wasn't just a case of an overactive imagination. These toys were real, and they exuded an evil energy. A loud bang sounded behind them as the door slammed shut, trapping them inside with nowhere to run. The rumors about this house and its dark past were all true. Panic set in as they heard strange noises coming from the shadows. Suddenly, the toys came to life. The dolls started to dance, the stuffed animals growled, and the action figures fought one another. The board games opened, releasing a swarm of spiders that crawled toward the terrified teenagers. One by one, the friends were attacked by the demonic toys. They screamed and tried to fight back, but it was no use. The toys were too powerful. As the last teenager fell to the ground, the toys ceased their attack and returned to their lifeless state. The next morning, the police found the abandoned mansion sealed shut. No one ever entered the mansion again, and the evil energy surrounding the house lingered for many years. Some say that the toys still come to life at night, continuing their mission to trap and attack anyone who dare to enter the cursed mansion. Others claim that the spirits of the teenagers still haunt the house, forever trapped in the attic with the demonic toys. No one knows for sure what happened that night, but one thing is certain: the abandoned mansion on the hill remains a source of fear and mystery for the people of Whispering Willows. However, there was one person in Whispering Willows who wasn't afraid of the mansion. Her name was Lily, and she was a psychic medium who had always been fascinated by the supernatural. She had heard about the mansion's dark history and knew that she had to investigate it for herself. One moonlit night, Lily stood before the mansion's gates, sensing the evil energy emanating from the house. Determined to face it, she pushed open the creaky gates and entered the mansion's grounds. As she approached the mansion, Lily felt the presence of the spirits that lingered there. They were restless and angry, and their voices whispered in the wind. Lily made her way through the abandoned mansion, her senses heightened by the energy surrounding her. She ventured deeper into the house, determined to find the source of its evil. She searched every room, looking for clues and listening for any signs of life. But the house was silent, save for the occasional creak of a floorboard. Finally, she came upon a locked door at the end of a long hallway. Energy pulsated and emanated from behind the door. Lily retrieved her trusty lock-picking tools and began to work on the lock. It took her several minutes, but the lock finally clicked open, freeing the door. The heavy door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit laboratory. Strange machines hummed and whirred in the background, and shelves upon shelves of glass jars, filled with bubbling concoctions, lined the walls. In the center of the room, a massive oak table stood covered in sharp tools of all shapes and sizes. Some were stained with specks of blood. Suddenly, Lily heard a whisper coming from the corner of the room. She turned and saw a figure shrouded in darkness. The figure slowly emerged from the shadows, revealing itself to be a man in a lab coat. His face was twisted and contorted, and his eyes glowed with a demon's light. The man introduced himself as the Mad Toy Maker, the creator of the demonic toys that had attacked the teenagers. He explained that he had been experimenting with dark magic, trying to create the perfect toy that would be both beautiful and terrifying. But his experiments had gone wrong, and the toys had gained a life of their own. Lily could sense the toy maker's energy, like an electric current pulsing through the air. She knew that he was not entirely human. There was a dark and primal force within him. a chaotic mix of man and demon. His powers were beyond anything she had ever encountered, unpredictable and formidable. It was as if he held the strings to a powerful puppet show, controlling everything around them with a flick of his wrist. The toy maker revealed that he had been waiting for someone like Lily to come along. He needed her help to reverse the curse that he had unwittingly unleashed upon the mansion. Lily was hesitant at first, but she knew that she was the only one who could help the spirits trapped in the mansion. Together, Lily and the toy maker worked to break the curse that had been placed on the mansion. They spent long hours in the laboratory, poring over ancient texts and casting spells to break the curse. As they worked on the intricate mechanisms of the cursed toy maker's creations, Lily began to see a different side of him. She noticed how his hands trembled as he carefully placed small gears and springs into place. She saw the furrow of his brow as he concentrated on each delicate detail. At first, she thought his hesitance and caution were due to his mad scientist persona, but as they spent more time together, she realized that he was a lonely and tormented soul, trapped in the mansion for decades, unable to leave and haunted by the spirits he had unwittingly unleashed. Despite their differences, Lily and the toy maker grew closer as they worked together to break the curse. They shared stories of their pasts, and Lily learned that underneath the eccentricity and obsession with toy making, he had once been a loving husband and father. After months of hard work, they finally succeeded in breaking the curse. The evil energy dissipated from the mansion, and the trapped spirits were able to move on. Lily said her goodbyes and left feeling a sense of satisfaction and closure. But she couldn't shake off thoughts of the toy maker from her mind. She worried about him constantly, knowing that he was still haunted by his past. One night, she returned to the mansion searching for him. As she called out his name, she heard a whisper coming from the laboratory. Her heart raced as she made her way towards it, hoping to find him there. Lily crept towards the workshop, her steps barely making a sound on the old, creaky floorboards. She could see the toy maker through a gap in the door, hunched over his workbench with a furrowed brow, lost in thought. As she entered the room, he turned to face her, and a warm smile spread across his face. Tears glistened in his eyes as he whispered her name, his voice trembling with emotion. She stepped closer and wrapped her arms around him, feeling the weight of his guilt and sadness. "I had to come back," she murmured, "to make sure you were all right." His grip tightened around her, his body shaking with suppressed sobs. "I'll never be okay," he confessed, his voice barely audible. "Not after what I've done." She pulled back slightly and looked into his tear-filled eyes, seeing all the regret and pain etched onto his weathered face. Placing a gentle hand on his shoulder, she said, "There's no use dwelling on the past, but you can use your talents for good now. You've already helped so many trapped spirits in this mansion. Maybe there are others out there who need your help too." He let out a defeated sigh, but then something sparked in his gaze. He nodded resolutely and said, "You're right. I can't change what I've done, but I can make a better future." Side by side, they worked through the night, pouring their creative energy into something beautiful and pure. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the windows, they stood back and marveled at their masterpiece. The toy maker turned to Lily and took her hand in his. "Thank you," he said sincerely, "for believing in me and helping me find my purpose again." Lily could sense the darkness within him slowly fading away, replaced by a newfound joy. Lily's eyes overflowed with tears and gratitude, her heart swelling with a sense of blessed relief. The toy maker's smile in return was like a beacon of hope, reminding Lily that not only was he her friend, but also a formidable ally in their quest to spread love and positivity across the world. Together, they would face any obstacle that stood in their way. This was just the beginning, and Lily knew that with the toy maker by her side, they were unstoppable.